Okay, so here I want to discuss a couple of techniques from the point of view of the workflow to composite two animations, or perhaps one into something like a static image, but that is moving. So creating an animation of that too. And the starting point is some sort of an animation like this one, which we rendered in PuppyRay GPU right here in Howler. And what I'd like to do is add to that an airplane. And I have here an airplane. Let's go turn the brush visible. This one's by Dave DeVoe, and you can see him on the Dog Waffler of the Moment website. What I'll do is I'll turn this around. So I need to get the keyboard focus on the application, and then I hit Y. No, that's vertical. X for horizontal flip, and then I'll store that brush. Right. So we have store and manage a copy of that in the opposite direction. The original was brighter, actually. The original, let's see if I reset this. That yeah, you see the original was quite a bit brighter. So one thing I also did is I reduced here on the hue saturation value in that stored copy. I reduced the brightness, the value, because I wanted to make it look like it's pretty dark when it's flying right in front of the sun, right? And plus the lighting is not right because this one has the sun from above. You can see there's a shadow um, dropping under the under the wing, and so we didn't want that to be too visible. So let's in fact let's make it even darker, and that's what we did here. So I have this one now going pointing in the right direction, and I can still make it smaller. I can still also do a couple of other things like rotating it a little bit. But I'll be able to do that later when I actually composite that into the animation. All right, so that's the initial starting point with the brush. And I need to clear my animation off that. I can do an undo. Oops, hold on, let me move this dude over here. So there you go. And so we have the animation here, and we want the airplane to go from left to right. So that's a fairly simple thing to do. Before we do that, before we mess with this animation, let's make sure we have a saved or a stored copy here, right? Not in memory, but on disk. And you can either save it, or you can and give it a path. Or if you're in a hurry and you don't want to give it a path, Dog Waffle will, or Howler will save it to you, store it on disk. So that's where it helps to have an SSD drive because it will be so much faster to store it to that, or a disk drive that's spinning at 10,000 RPM. All right, so the animation, how do we get this airplane to go from left to right? Simply, it's in the brush, and we need to go to the animation brush keyframer. Right. With that, and this window we can enhance. With that, we can get the current brush, and it's showing it against the background. It still remembers from last time I used it what path I went through. If I clear that, let's go clear the entire path and go to the very beginning of the animation here. I can place it around here. And what I want to do is have the airplane initially in the upper left corner, and then as the camera is sweeping to the right, we'll probably want it down here, but also bigger and closer, and maybe closer to the water. It's about to do a splashdown or something like that. But what's most important to me also is that it be right in front of the sun, somewhere in the middle here. So we'll also probably keep an eye on that, and we don't go too low with the airplane because otherwise it might miss the sun halfway through that animation. All right, so let's go place it up here. Adjust the angle a little bit. Perhaps it's still on a way down before touchdown, something like this. And you may want to make it look like it's really far away, kind of smallish, and keyframe that. So add a keyframe, and then go to the very end of the animation and place it around here. It's not so easily seen right now here because the background is dark, the airplane is dark. Dark and dark is not easily seen. If you need some help, you can change here. Perhaps sometimes the screen mode might reveal it a little bit better, or even some divide mode or some others, right? But then temporarily, right after that, you bring it back, and then also make it a little bit bigger and change the angle so that it looks like it's getting ready for splashdown. Even the nose up a little bit, perhaps, and place it just around here, right? And make sure we set the mode back to opaque, and keyframe that. And so now we have a path. You want to make sure it's a linear path because otherwise it depends on whether you have additional keyframes. But it does a little thing. There's an error accumulation at the end. It does a jump for the last frame. It's probably best to have a linear transition here. Although you might argue that, well, no, it's going to have to come in slowly and then kind of fast when it's closer. So that depends on how much you want that perspective to really look good. Anyway, so here it is. It's perhaps a little bit too low. Maybe we wanted it higher on the sun. So we could actually bring it up higher and keyframe that, right? Or delete that keyframe, or work on the last frame and make that one be a little bit higher, right? And that way we know it's also going to be higher along the path. Let's go keyframe it there. So now we have essentially a path for our airplane, and we'll see it's going to be quite nicely in front of the sun here and coming from over there. All right, so let's go render that. Now, this is what the render would be if we just care about that, right? So we now have it down here, but we actually want to do more. We want to do things like this here. This is a cast shadow that shows sort of a volumetric shadow, it seems. And that effect we don't want to apply on the entire background. So in the next section, I'll talk about how to do that.